All right, gods and goddesses in training, welcome back to the channel. It's Uncle Makara. Today we're talking about a very, very enlivening, enriching topic about transhumanism and how that's going to affect us, not only as a society in the future, but with a lot of different things like products or technologies that we use, and just looking forward to a very, very unique worldview where we start to understand what it really means to merge with technology. We already have the advent of bionic arms, hearing aids, many different products that are already set in stone, and they have been discovered already. However, in the coming future, we will also get a lot of invitation to merge with certain technologies, okay? A lot of people are already glued to their phones. Notice how the word phone has cell phone, like a jail cell. Okay. So it starts from the cell. That's what we've got to understand first and foremost. The cells is where it all begins. Okay. Hold on. Let me just edit these settings so the live chat works. Okay. Excellent. Sharing this with the tribe. Let's get it. Let's go. Mm. Okay. So this was a topic that was brought up quite a lot, especially in our path working Primal Sutra, of spiritual intelligence versus artificial intelligence. Okay. Artificial intelligence is, of course, a newfound phenomena. And I think we have to ask ourselves the real questions around this, okay? Because that's how we're truly going to get our power back. And as humans, we have to learn how to humanize ourselves. We have to learn what it means to be human before we lose it to some other construct or opinion or thought form, right? So that's the first thing to understand, is that let's understand what Robert Lanza talks about in terms of biocentrism, okay? Which is basically the idea that consciousness creates the universe around us and not vice versa, right? The universe does not create consciousness, consciousness creates the universe. So it's a very profound topic, which also brings into the equation things like quantum entanglement. This is why, something like a voodoo doll can work in a sense, or some other mystical practices can work in a sense, okay? Because it's like the butterfly effect, how one thing, the butterfly flaps its wings here and it creates a hurricane in Arkansas or something, right? That understanding of that it tells us something. There's potentiality there, right? For the butterfly's wings to cause this ripple effect. But it's also up to our emotional regulation. You guys get that? Like, yes, it starts from the small actions of you forgot your phone at home or you did this thing wrong, right? And then it stacks. Your entire day stacks from that point onwards. What if we learned how to maintain and calibrate our emotions so that they can't be used against us anymore? Because a lot of people, how do they manipulate others? Is through their emotions. Emotional manipulation is the number one thing. And within all different dynamics of relationships, family dynamics, it's the most common thing that we see, right? Is that emotional blackmail. It's like that, if you don't eat your food, then mommy will be sad, right? It's that understanding. And once we can really get to that crux, right, of the making human beings feel pity for this particular thing or this cause. That's why, a lot of these ads that I see online, I don't trust them because I don't know their hidden agendas. Okay. Now, I do have causes in mind and places where I would much rather work on my charitability and where my money would go to, right? And stream into. Mainly causes that we deeply believe in at Primal Sutra, protecting and preserving the future generations and the water of the world and the planet, and not seeing nature as just we just take it for granted. We have all this nature around us, but we take it for granted. So I'm coming at you live from Atlantis, to tell you this. And I think it's important because everything is down to security. Okay. This month we're talking about abundance. Okay. It's abundance August. Okay. So in Abundance August, we have a different framework, a different way that we're doing things, and we're understanding it brings us back to the root chakra. Chief Deno, whom I channeled last Monday, told us about Nagualism that was through Carlos Castaneda's tech. And the tonal and the Nagual have to merge. The animal nature and the spiritual nature have to merge in order for us to really move forward, right? And cause harmony. So I really like that understanding. And I think through meditation, we can gain greater awareness, right? We won't be these automatons, Decepticon type beings, okay? If we have meditation practices. I don't think so, at least. Like, I don't think if you have a consistent meditation practice, I do not think that you will be so easily swayed by technologies, actually. I think your inner tech is much more powerful than the outer, and it was the inner that created the outer. Okay. And if we take it back to the biocentrism idea, yeah, I mean, small decisions are going to create emotions. And it's how you regulate those emotions that's going to get you the results that you have in this life, right? So it's the root chakra. Imagine I have this visualization, guys. I just envision that I'm being nestled by Mother Earth, right? I'm being held and cared for and nestled by the earth, like ivies wrapping around, like vines are wrapping around my body, right? And slowly, like just bringing me into the earth, and I merge, and I'm at one with the earth, right? And then I also sometimes sit next to, like, let's say Vajrayogini or green Tara, white Tara. I am envision them, or Avalokiteshvara, some may say, or Kuan Yin. I envision that I'm in the same room as them, so they are in my presence. And whenever I do that kind of visualization, it also helps me reattune back to the Earth's energy, Mama Gaia energy, right? And when I'm able to do that, I feel a deep feeling of safety. And that deep feeling of safety actually makes me feel that I can sit in the presence of this healing mother energy and actually understand how it's going to be a rejuvenation for me in order to move forward with my mission, right? So we need little pockets of time in our consciousness to realize that silence and creating silence, moments of silence, moment of peace, where we can actually unwind and let the thoughts do what they need to do. Because think about it like this, your thoughts can change like clothes, right? So the thoughts that you think are popping up might not have any rooting in your fundamental belief system at all, So yes, our beliefs create our thoughts, and that's where we can do the inner belief work. But I think it also, our brains are shaped by thousands of years of love, guys, right? Love from one generation to another that impacted and started to ripple and, then become separated through all of these different ways. So that initial love, right? That ancestral love, okay? That's something for you that's very special to tap into, especially being conscious of that aspect of you while you're using technologies. Like right now, we're communicating using technologies, but it's for our benefit because we're understanding how to learn together, right? And this is a live format. So we have to learn how to discern and use technology in the right ways, right? It's like you brandish the sword, but you use it for the right things, right? Or you use a knife to chop vegetables, not to stab your neighbor or whatever, right? Like you understand it has a purpose and you have to have a moral code and ethical code for you to use this stuff. And I think robotics has the first law is like don't harm others, right? Isn't that like the first law of robotics? Does someone know? Right? So it goes to show you that yes, we are cautious about this. And because so many movies show us that, I mean, the movies are egregious by themselves, right? So any movies showing like robots taking over the world or whatever, those movies are actually reading into the consciousness, right? The Akashic records. It's actually being installed, right? So we have to beware of the media that we're consuming too, right? I'm forced to watch certain movies, which my adult self definitely refuses at times, you know? And my spirit guides are like, you need to watch this movie. It's going to be beneficial for your spiritual growth. In the When I first hear of this, bro, I'm like, nah, you know, immediately. But then I watch the movie and then I go, oh, this is why they told me this, right? And so it's really important that we not only listen to our guides properly, right? And just trust in their weird, wacky nonsense at times, which seems like weird, wacky nonsense, but it's really not. It's like a hidden gem. We have to learn how to integrate that properly, right? And right now, we're getting so many Earth magic downloads with King Gob, who is slowly emerging as another being that we're working with, the elemental king of the Earth itself. And so we might be seeing a lot of perhaps dwarf or gnome energies emerging once again, or the leprechaun energies, or we even see goblins, like treasure goblins, right, Ryan G? So it's like really important that we start to take all of these different downloads that we're getting and put it into practicality. So let's do that now. Number one thing to understand is this is a battle for humanity. Okay. This is a battle for humanity, and divinity is the ability to transcend our perceived limitations, as Greg Braden says. Okay. So once we become more than our challenges, we start to tap into the axis of the divine. Okay. Now, throughout millennia, it's been this good versus evil, light versus dark. It's the entire planet knows of this, right? In some way or the other, right? They acknowledge Naraka or hell not as like a separate concept or like a literal place, but as a metaphor for our own consciousness, right? Our state of being. So we have to understand that a part of our consciousness is this flow and adaptation. And we will be able to adapt to these future technologies. But at one point, I think our main fear is our fear of disappearing, which is our fear of death, our fear of our individuality being taken away, right? That's one of the biggest fears of this transhumanist agenda is that, you know, if you really look at the cells, they're tuning into vibratory spaces and fields, right? The neurons, I mean, like the neurons are like an antenna, correct? So these antennas are almost looking for the type of energy sequence that will most support it or be most safe for it, right? And most comfortable for it so that it can find a way to create a sense of home. This is why Vibe creates tribe and activates that, right? So we understand that a lot of times when we grow up, we have things done for us, right? Instead of actually doing something. It's the difference between, you getting a meal made for you and you cooking. Like it's a very different experience, right? And if we stop engaging with the world, right, and disengaging in our workplaces and disengaging with our friends and disengaging with our families and disengaging with ourselves, even mind-numbingly just, getting into this apathy. Every time you double tap something, you're giving that thing energy, right? It's an egregore. So you have to be aware of what you're double tapping to, okay? You got to be aware because you're sending that thing, that essence, more energy. And so this is why we also have to be conscious of our social media use. It stopped being social. It's just media consumption use, okay? It's not social media anymore. So we've got to understand how to break ourselves out of that understanding. Let's say a small child who's coming into the world nowadays, and now they're introduced with, VR visors to see the world and all these vivid colors and imaginations, and it looks nothing like the real world, right? Now, children watch cartoons, that's fun too. And this is like an extended, amplified version of that. Think of that, right? And they're there. Do you think they will be able to function in reality? Will they be able to walk through easier? Will they find it more difficult to adapt to the real world, right? These are all questions that we have to consider because I think our DNA will interact to this thing very differently. If you ever looked at cloning, guys, right? It's like the egg is there to remove the specific DNA neuron, like the take the DNA, right? And then put it into another DNA host to extend that host. But then it's like this initial DNA is looking for the external DNA still, right? The internal one is looking for the external one, the one that's missing, like the missing parent or something like that, right? So that causes these weird mutations to happen when they were cloning like sheep, like Dolly and stuff like that. They would create like these weird disease-ridden sheep, you know? And so it's really important, like even something like cloning, we have to be aware of, right? And how it affects us. And I truly believe as we're moving towards a futuristic mindset or a timeline, like everybody's thinking like this, right? Gadgets and Neuralink and, AI and VR and augmented reality, AR, right? There's so much of this stuff out there that it's like we have to be aware not to become those Wall-E people. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? In the movie Wall-E, there are these people, these very obese people, right, who are in the wheelchairs, and they have a screen, and everything is on that screen. Okay. But this is what we're actually doing. We're leading such sedentary lives that we're spending most of our days in front of a screen. Right. And this is what we have to slowly change as we start moving into our physical form again. We have to find a way to physically reorient ourselves as spiritual beings. Okay. This is why you have to fall in love with moving your body and body mechanics again. Just allow yourself to feel through that, right? And how your body naturally wants to move. Don't force it. Don't judge it. Don't try to put it through some kind of a fad diet. Okay. Just listen to your intuition. Listen what your body's telling you to eat or take care of it as, right? You have to learn how to trust that over the years. You can't keep yo-yo dieting and binge watching stuff. It's not going to keep helping you move forward in this dynamic of your most abundant self, because your most abundant self doesn't even have time to binge watch something, right? Your most abundant self is out there creating so much that they're forgetting about what they're even consuming. They're like, okay, yeah, that was fun, entertaining, I guess. But it's not like the thing, right, that's there to enrich me. So find what is enriching to you, because honestly, that's what's going to bring the most fulfillment. By the way, I got this Vasuki a little snake pendant, right? It's blue, and I thought, hey, that's the throat chakra, right? So I might see how this affects me with Shivaji's energy and the Rudraksh together. And it's already doing its work, I think. Okay, so let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Awesome. Peace, man. What's up, Grammar? So, you know, we treat other people like they are our nurturers or therapists or clients, and we play all these different roles, man. You know what I mean? All of us play all of these different roles. Like in your little rehearsal group, you're different, right? You go back home and you're different. You go to the movies and you act different. And every single place has these weird impressions and ways that we act and perceive and pretend. It's like this really is the Truman Show. You guys get that? Like this life is truly that. It is the Oasis from Ready Player One. It is the Matrix or whatever you want to call it, right? It is that. It is that simulated reality, but we have to understand we are the simulators, man. Okay? We're the ones creating this weird simulation through bandwagoning memes, right? A lot of people just bandwagon on the latest meme and they go with that. Let me type in, this is how you become popular on YouTube. Let me type in the most common keywords in 2024 and let me speak about those topics. Okay? That's really what they do, guys. That's really how they do it. Okay? The most common trending topics, even if it's like dystopia, right? They'll end up talking about that, not even knowing that that's feeding the collective of this nonsense, right? Why do we want to be in a dystopia? What the fuck, right? Nobody wants that, but secretly we want that. What is that? The Freudian death wish? I don't know. We're still figuring it out why people are the way that they are. Human psychology is not just a very simple, easy topic. It's an expansive topic that keeps shifting and changing, right? And this is what we have to start to understand is that we have to learn if these transhumanists really want the best for us, or are we being fooled into making them wealthy so that you falsely believe that you're a superhuman? Okay? Is it all your own doing that you have this incredible skill set that you downloaded from this Neuralink microchip in your head? Or have you cheated? Have you found the easiest shortcut that there is? Okay. Now, even, I mean, the ethics of like installing designer, chips into future generations' brains, that's a weird one too. But they're already, um, doing the same thing with like changing a child's gender before they even have the cognizance to decide for themselves, like, what they want with their lives or their genitalia for that instance, right? So are you really just uh the greatest basketball player of all time, or are you hacking your way and trying to like, get it quickly for yourself? Is this the get rich quick scheme way of thinking? Whereas we need to dial that instant gratification mind down a little bit and be like, yo, I need to put in my time, effort, work, right? So that I get something in the long run that I build for myself, right? Having this thing that gives you permanent happiness is wild to me, right? That's just insanity. Okay. Like, really, are you a sex god, or have you brain chipped your way into thinking apotheosis, right? You're thinking that you are that, but your beingness does not show that, or something like this, right? So it's like it could even be like hallucinations being created through these apps, right? Think about it. So that's such a weird thing, though, that our paranoia drives us wilder in terms of this, right? So, of course, whenever talking about this topic, we move into fear instead of love. But we have to allow ourselves to elaborate with our own spiritual codes, right? Because we have our own spiritual beliefs and values that are way more important than the material world values or this Ahrimanic, Ahriman consciousness, satanic consciousness of this material world, because it's breaking us down into these blobs, right? It's taking away our humanity in a sense. I mean, all it's doing is either dehumanizing or transhumanizing, you know? So this is what we have to understand is, are we reducing our human experience into just information, just more data? Yeah, these people, let's measure their blood rate and let's create an algorithm to sell them this thing. Okay. This includes a fostering of a sense of reverence for life itself, the evolution of nature, the natural world, okay, which is evolution, which is growth, which is expansion. I'm telling you, divinity, as I said earlier, is the ability to transcend our perceived limitations. So it's not happening to you, it's happening through you. Most artists, most entrepreneurs, people who've created great inventions, right? Great genius things that have come around, they've always said, it's not me, it's happening through me. Okay. And this is really what it is. We have to understand that metaphysical world, because that is the secret towards us manifesting in the physical world. It really is, right? The inner world guides this thing, but it moves a lot slower in this physical realm, right? It's not as quantum, it's not as fast. So that's why we have to have true patience and tune into the vibration of what we truly desire and deserve, right? And not play in this deserving paradigm, because a tiger doesn't deserve to feed its cub or to go hunting or to, you know, take a bath by the watering hole or whatever. It doesn't have some superior moral authority to do that, or some hidden agenda to do that, right? It's just following its nature's code. It's just following its instinctual drives, right? And we've been socialized, and a lot of the evil comes through the socialization and how we've been socialized. Okay. So this is why we say it's a shame culture, it's a this culture, it's that culture, right? It's all to do with how much are you actually tapping into your most natural self, and how much are you going into more and more artificiality. I mean, look at most pornography nowadays, right? It's mostly artificial stuff, right? It's cool if we can bring some of that freaky deaky into our real lives. And of course, we have that Bao Chikawawa in our real lives, right? But again, when you watch someone, it's like, yo, they're delivering a pizza again. It's like, that doesn't make any sense to me still, right? It's like, whose reality is it really? Is it your reality? Is this your world? Wherever you go, the world is yours, right? Shout out to Shiki Sheik or whatever that guy's name, Shaky Sheik, right? Um, Is reality really reduced to these quantifiable and controllable elements and measures? Like, can we control all of this stuff, or do we have to surrender to the divine? Because this consciousness prioritizes efficiency, predictability, predictive control over the spiritual world and our humanistic values, right? This is the same consciousness that seduces humanity. It seduces humanity. That's what it does. There's a grand seduction of technological mastery. My product is better than yours. My technology can override yours. Often at the expense of our connection to this spiritual, natural world, which we're all living in, which is including us. So the conflict that we're noticing is really a way that our relationship with that conflict that matters. Okay, so the concept of a synthetic soul involves the creating a consciousness that integrates human experience with artificial intelligence. Okay, now does that lead to digital immortality? We don't know that. Okay, we can only guess. You download your consciousness into a cloud server after you die so that Uncle Makara is a living meme forever. Okay, do you want that, or do you want the real me while I'm here? Okay. If you guys want to make me into the hologram in the future, I'm not opposed to that. But all I'm saying is, hey, paint me in the right way, man. Okay. It's like, who's controlling that future hologram of me, right? Like my arch nemesis who was like secretly like had an anti-deity of mine or some shit, you know? Like we got to watch out for these things too, like how people are using our energies after death, post-mortem, understanding that our legacy is left online and how it shows us that the person is still online on their day of death, like even on social media. And that terrifying notion of us understanding that perhaps we just have this digital footprint that we leave behind, but is it really a digital one or is it a metaphysical one, right? Or is it both? So we have to understand how to use this thing appropriately. And I think it starts with our own understanding of our own deep philosophies and how we are nature and nurtured into this world, right? How we are raised and how we raise ourselves in a sense. So we can become the razor blades through Maya and cut through the illusion with our truth consciousness. You see, as truth seekers, we are no more seeking or hiding. We are illuminating, we are giving, we are gracing the world with our presence. And your empathy is a privilege, bro. Did you know that? Your kindness, your empathy, your goodness of your heart, that's a privilege, bro. Okay. And you are freely giving it out to everybody, you know? They say don't cast your pearls before swine, man. They're gonna try to eat them or whatever, right? So that's the thing. You gotta really know who you're speaking to. And I'm speaking to that little part, that soul, that divine spark, you know, that part of you that is connected to the light and knows that you are light. That's the version I'm talking to. And that version knows. It doesn't need to believe. It doesn't need to try. It doesn't need to think. It doesn't need to, fix something. It's tapped in, right? It's just instantly knowing this. And that comes from the love of an earthly father through God, right? That energy of understanding, I have faith, and there will be a knowingness that I will be protected, a deep graciousness and a fearlessness of our own divinity. Of course, not allowing ourselves to get deluded and clouded by our own judgment, but really try to understand where you stand. Okay. Basically, the agenda is to strip humanity of its connection to the spiritual or metaphysical realm. Pretty much. That's a way to sum it up, Guido, right? In the world, but not of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing the Bhagavad Gita was trying to teach, man. You know, can't convince a brick wall anything. That's right. I used to have a teacher. She used to always say, "Am I talking to a wall?" And whenever we used to chew gum in class, she used to be like, "You all are like ruminating cows." You know, we're like, okay, I guess we're cows now. We're holy beings. Let's go. All right. Irregardless, let's think about how this agenda is really affecting us, right? Because it's making us less human. It's tapping us out of our humanity. It's making us so much in the Luciferian consciousness that's like you'll be a god next to the throne of God. You will understand that you have the power within you. You don't need to, you know, go with this, man. You can join my highly elated, fun adventure land where everything is free and there's liberalism everywhere. Yeah, right. Oh man, that's very seducing, right? You go, oh, okay. You mean there's a paradise, an adventure palace where I can do whatever I want? Okay. Be careful. Be careful. Okay. Number one. Number two is the Ahrimanic consciousness, is what we're talking about. You're just a zero or a one to me. You were just a number in my bank account for me. That's the mentality. This is really it, right? So I'm not saying that I am that, obviously, but some people might get it skewed or whatever. Like, what is he saying? Am I just a number to you, Uncle Makara? Okay. So that's how it boils it down. It's almost like it's losing the care. One is too emotional, one is no emotion. You guys get that? Man, there's lots of reasons for that. Okay. First of all, there's the story of Krishna and the cows. That's very a sacred story. Um, there's different sects of India, right? SECTS. And they have different belief systems and ways that they think about things. So it could be that a certain rishi believed in that way of not eating them, right? That they were revered as sacred. They were our gave us milk for the healthiness of our bones, and so you know, certain people, chose to believe in that paradigm and thinking that we can't eat that they're sacred beings, really, right? Um, I personally, I've grown up around Switzerland where there's meat everywhere, like if you didn't eat beef there, it was like it's kind of bizarre, right? Um, so I've broken the rule myself multiple times. I'm not someone who particularly believes that I have to, uh, follow the rules or the dogma of a specific religion. But hey, man, a lot of people, yeah, I mean, if you walk around India, bro, you just see cows in the roads, and people just don't stop them. They just let them do whatever they want here. They're treated like royalty. Some of them obviously being whipped by farmers or whatever. But I don't know actually how the cows are treated here, so I shouldn't talk about a topic I don't know about. Um, besides the concept of shape shifting in Hinduism, dang, that's a really interesting topic. Yeah, I mean, I think that biokinesis is actually within all of us, that we can actually alter the way that we have our human bodies, but it's got to take a really important dose of spiritual integration for us to get there. I really think that we can, let's say, for instance, listen to an eye color frequency or sound and change our eye color, but it's only going to be temporary if our belief system does not latch onto it, right? If it's not within our own cognizance to believe that, it'll fade itself out. It'll almost extinct itself, right? Make itself extinct. So it is through our adaptability of our awareness and our psychic gifts, right? Like, let's say you have a new psychic gifts that you haven't really explored, but you notice that it comes out in various moments, like a little mild telepathy or a mild, like a spidey sense, knowing what's going to happen from before, right? Now you have to train that and actually remind yourself that you're capable of doing that, right? And not get jaded or just like, you know, phase it out of your mind or ignore it. right? Because they show us that in all the movies, right? They have the spiritual powers, but it's like they've just suppressed them, you know? They've stopped feeling, they've become apathetic. They're like, I'm absorbing too much of these people's energies instead of helping them heal, right? That's the wounded healer, you know? So you have to draw very distinct boundaries, man. Just be like, this is my boundary. This is my territory. Okay. If you enter this space, you have to play by these rules, right? Siddhis, right? Magical, mystical powers. But again, if you share siddhis, you might be in the danger to lose your siddhis, right? So it's like you got to keep it as a secret kind of part of yourself. In every mystical path working, there are certain mystical powers, guys, where you could. I was telling the adepts this the other day, where you can see the minerals and stones, semi-precious stones underneath the earth using your third eye, right? There's certain yogis who can access that. And there's certain ones who can also, levitate and so forth. There's a lot of these powers. But again, if everybody did this stuff, right? If everybody showed that this was possible, everybody would lose it. They'd go bonkers. They start to question their own realities, you know? You mean we have superheroes out there and they're not doing anything for the betterment of humankind, right? No, they're working in the shadows. And that's what you got to understand. Okay? It's no wonder that the government is getting these specific X-Men type beings and probably harnessing them for their own benefits, right? But who's doing that for the general public? Like who's really caring? Like, do we have a universal carer, a situation? Like, do we have an organization of just people who care? Right? Is there enough of that in society where we actually step up and understand like enough is enough, bro, right? How much longer are we going to do it the same way? And that I think is the crumbling of old empires and just like old systems that are in place that haven't really found that adaptability, found that grounding, found that embodiment, right? We need to be living tradition. We don't need to be just traditionalists, right? And this is what I tell you, Orthodox traditionalists, very stoic, staunch, strict Christians or very dogmatic Jews or whatever, right? Like you have a very specific way that you see the world through your specific ideology eyes. Let me tell you this. What if another perspective could amplify your spiritual or religious practice? Have you ever thought of that? Have you thought of this thing like a mosaic that can add to your amplification of your avatar and to explore and have the wisdom and knowledge about other cultures, to understand and give them the reverence that they deserve, and not only cling onto your own ideology and see the world through that little keyhole, not knowing that you are the giant key that unlocks everything, right? So let me tell you that, man. Like, honestly, you need to explore outside of your domain. You have such a domain, and it's like you're just closed and you're walking around in this echo chamber of your domain. Once you step out of that, you realize and recognize there are other people who do things very differently, right? I've found so much value speaking to like a skateboarder about something, or like a new age entrepreneur about something, or a guy who creates nootropics, right? Like, it's incredible how much you can learn from people. And I really believe in people, in our genius, in our advancement. And a lot of people, they're like, humans are fucked, man. We're worthless. Yeah, we don't really do much. We're just evil, man. Look at our human nature. It's like fucked up. And okay, you stay in that reality, my friends. You stay in that reality. Okay. But I'm looking for expansion because that thing is within me too, right? That divinity, the ability to lead myself beyond my perceived limitations, beyond the constructs of samsara, right? So powerful. Is utilizing sound waves, electromagnetic frequencies, and possibly drawing non-demonic magic circles considered as black magic or voodoo? Um, I wouldn't classify them as the same thing, right? I wouldn't put them in the same camp, but they are like, let's just use the umbrella term of magic, okay? Magic is just a technology where you make use of the invisible to create visible, tangible results, right? That's all. That's how I see magic, at least. Okay. It's the metaphysical realm being used as a consciousness engineer. That is a mage, that's a sorcerer, that's a mystic. But you got to be careful, right? Because it's in the ethics of the practices. What makes something dark? Okay. I can tell you a lot of dark things on here. Okay. Is that going to help our argument? Okay. I'll leave you with one. Okay. This is very cringeworthy, but I'll leave you with one. Okay. In black magic, they believe that if you make someone's anus bleed through sodomy, okay, that there's demons that will come out and affect the person. Okay. So that's terrifying. Like now, as I told you that, you're probably feeling it at the pit of your stomach, like, bro, what? Fuck that. I need to take a shower or something after what the Uncle Makara, really? But you got to understand these people work through fucked up measures, man. That's the way that they think. That's the way that they work, right? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Exactly, man. Right? Because it looks like magic to the non-ordinary person, right? But what is normal anyway, right? I think normal keeps killing us. Like, bro, what the, right? Doesn't mean we have to be abnormal. It means we have to be more human. To be superhuman, you have to be first fully human, bro. You can't just be superhuman without being human first. You're trying to build a skyscraper on top of another skyscraper? Bro, how are you going to get to that top one without the foundation? Right? So that's what I mean, man. But yeah, there's messed up things there, you know? And that's why I stay away from the Crowley stuff, man. I know it's there. Like the only Crowley thing we've probably used is the Akadua, which has a very powerful tech embedded into it through the Egyptian path working. But even then, a lot of his stuff, the more that I've gone into his tech, it's dark, man. It's very dark. And the black magicians know this, and they'll keep trying to save him, okay? And they'll keep trying to keep it, immortalize his name or whatever. But again, you know, that person got us to understand. I mean, through the rocket, Jim Parsons had to use his help to build the rocket, guys. Okay. As wild and as crazy as it might seem, this world is run through a hidden occult knowledge. Okay. And everybody knows this. Look at all the brands that you use. They're all sigils, egregores, okay? Company logos, right? All symbolic, all magic, you know? It's just how will you use that magic? This is why we spread awareness and information like this on YouTube channels to get people to understand and use their discernment for this thing, right? Really be the walking, living embodiments of this thing. Now, I think it's very dangerous if you are a hypnotist of any kind because someone else is gladly giving over their power to you. Okay. And you have to build a real sense of rapport and trust with that person. Okay. To take them on as a hypnosis client. You have to measure their suggestibility and understand the language that you'll speak to them as. And you're going to have to set up some rules, okay, for yourself and your own ethics of this practitionership because it is a huge responsibility to hand over your consciousness to somebody else. But you're being subliminally hypnotized all the time through different products, through different things you're wearing, different things you're doing, okay? All the time, all the time, all the time. Okay? So it's really, really important that we understand this stuff, right? I've heard of that concept when I learned of the Pindar, which means pinnacle The dragon where sodomy is ritualistic. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's dark, man. It's really dark. And unfortunately, a lot of people, again, get emotionally blackmailed into these different things. It's the emotions. We need to bring it back to protecting our emotions, okay? Not being emotional practitioners, okay? Not getting so hyper reactive about something, but staying calm, staying level headed, okay? Knowing where this is at, right? To understand that. We are in a Saturnian system, brother. Yeah. So we got to be wise. We got to be wise about this, okay? And again, what if we could love that Saturnian part of us too, right? Not love it like, oh, I'm going to take on its ideologies, but just from afar, notice its pain, notice its struggle to maintain itself in this ecosystem, right? If it's all under that and the super consciousness of Christ, right, that is above this whole hologram, and below is the Antichrist, right, or the Asura, the realms, right, that, and on the sides there's like, one-sided, freedom, one side, um, how would I say this? Robotics, right? Just make someone not feel. So it's like too much feeling, zero feeling, neutrality, emotional regulation, and mastery, right? To be able to have riz or charisma, you need to have emotional regulation and mastery. You can't just act out in weird ways and you know, let your intrusive thoughts win and, you have all these weird delusions, right? You have to make it practical for you and accessible for you as a shaman, because you have a responsibility, especially in this modern age, to not just actually hide away your gifts. It's important for you to do research and delve deep and have some deep thinking, but don't get yourself caught up in the rabbit hole mentality. Go beyond the rabbit hole and then pull the lessons from the rabbit holes. Okay. This is what you got to understand. So you can do a lot of research into the black cube and the, Saturnalia, and go absolutely have your head spin sideways rather than what? Actually applying that tech and understanding that and moving it back to the physical world again. This is what we need, right? And again, the more fear, they want you to fear it. They want you to fear these words, Satan, demon, devil. They want you to stay in fear of it. Okay? That's their manipulation tactic. It's like, if you live your life as a very sovereign being, you will understand that the Holy Spirit is there to protect you, and you are here to actually go through this glitch with a higher rendition of a divinity within you. You were here to connect back into the understanding of spirit and nature. Okay? My soul is traumatized, but it survives through subtle adaptability and smoking to suppress new pain. So what I would say, brother, is weed is the consciousness of acceptance. So you just need to work on your resistance. The things you resist will persist. So you need to focus on feeling accepted without the use of a substance. How do you do that? Prime yourself, listen to frequencies, self-acceptance frequencies, right? Find ways to, dopamine overload, dopamine repair by Sapien. Listen to that. There's many ways to go into it. So you're going to have to challenge yourself, bro. It's not going to happen in one day. It's going to take a while for you to get it, but once you get it, you'll get it, right? It's powerful. Use it for the right moments. It doesn't have to be a crutch. It doesn't have to be a way that you respond to your emotions, right? Listen to your emotions when you feel the urge. When you feel that urge to do it, you listen to the urge. You listen to what is the deep craving. Maybe I want the stillness and the peace from doing this, right? Or I want to see the world in a specific way, which is why I'm doing this. Or it's just stress relief. I'm stressed the fuck out with my real life, right? It's annoying. So I get all of those reasons. But knowing it, having the awareness that you're doing it, not just autopilot, right? You see a lot of people, they're making decisions, but they're on autopilot. So they don't even notice it, right? Guido, you're actually noticing it, right? And when you're calling it an addiction, that tells me that it's causing you and others in your life harm. That is why it's an addiction. Otherwise, you're just smoking, right? That's okay. So an addiction means that you're harming yourself and others as you're doing that activity. Okay. You're screwing people over by doing it. So are you screwing anybody over by doing that? Really ask yourself that, right? It's deep, man. I've been through a whirlpool of a lot of shadows like this that have emerged for me, and I've had to like really look at it, zoom out, and look at it. Like, what is it really trying to tell me? It's not trying to tell me this, definitely not, right? What's on the surface? There's a deeper layer as to why I'm behaving like this. And I think the same thing could be said about transhumanism or whatever. I mean, think about it. Like men who struggle with social rejection, and I've struggled with it for a long time, right? It's like their brain is more likely to take the easy option or the easy way out. Okay. So the fear is so deep to that level that you fantasize about like a sex robot or something like this because that's, it's close enough to a real person and they can't reject you, can they? That robot has been specifically designed for your pleasure. Okay. So now we have a new issue on our hands. Now, is this a solution to prostitution and OnlyFans and all this? We don't know. Hey, are the robots going to take over the OnlyFans? That's something to think about too. Okay. The Book of Enoch made me understand how non-human entities like Satan and other fallen angels exist. We don't know how they exist, but they do exist. Yep. Exactly. We don't understand them. That's the thing. We can only get to the crux of the transhumanist door again is just opening. It's like it's not fully open yet, right? So it's slowly like some guys like right? And allowing the gates to kind of just like get unlock a few screws or just, they're just prying it open slightly. And now once a new tech comes through and people latch onto it, like, did you see we can do this, right? Everybody gets that same app downloaded. It's only evil when it's like, hey, it's one industry that crushes every single other industry in that line, right? You get that? That's so wild to me. So wild to me, bro. So wild to me that Anderson Cooper is like a Vanderbilt. It's so wild to me that like all this stuff is happening behind the scenes and we don't even talk about it or know about it, you know? It's wild to me. But yeah, in terms of this humanist, transhumanist agenda, I think we have to understand what humanism is first. Let's understand it. Because when you read transhumanism, oh, that's a nice thing. They're trying to improve humanity, right? Okay. Share humanism meaning. Humanism meaning. Okay. A doctrine, attitude, or way of life centered on human interests or values. Okay. Reject supernaturalism. What? Emphasizes the individual social potential and agency of human beings. What is this definition? Oh, hey, man, this is good, right? An approach to life based on reason and our common humanity. That's like the whole idea in Hinduism. We have Vasudeva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, right? But again, it could also mean that let's just syncretize everything so we have power over those realms. That's a different way of thinking. That's the elite mentality of this, right? So let's start to understand that if we're humanists, we love humanity. We have to start to love humanity again. We have to get back into our primeval waters, our primal essence, to understand that we were once a caveman or cavewoman in this physical body. And we had to adjust and understand how to work our physical bodies in this dimension and learn all these secret codes about money and finance and agriculture and economics and, world travel. And now we've slowly started to unravel our true gifts as shamans, as cyber shamans, I should say, because really that's where the world is moving towards, this cyber shamanism. Through the AI, we can create incredible light codes and art. Let's not get it twisted. That can also be swaying us and moving us. So we have to be very wise. I muscle test through the different AI art we generate. And sometimes I'm like, that's off and that's off. But again, it tried its hardest, right? The software tries its best. The algorithm tried its best to create it for you. And that's beautiful, like to start and move with the times like this, right? But don't get jaded and twisted into a false reality and a false sense of security from these different apps and beings and, technological advancements. Okay, just because you have a Wii 2.5 or whatever, and you're just like, now it looks like a magic wand, doesn't mean you're actually a mystic, right? You got to really understand how to speak to the metaphysical world, and you do that through your own stillness. You do that through your own awareness, actually, right? You understand your own psyche a lot better through meditative states of mind, through trance channeling, through understanding these very beings and how to stay protected. Okay. Ascended masters' names protect you from these negative beings. So just find the name of any ascended master and just say it in your mind. You can also understand to automate these things, right? Like we've understood how to use Saint Germain's violet flame and protect our tulpas with that energy. And that's working perfectly for us because we're starting to amp it up and the energy is already boosting. Okay. So there's a lot we can do with this and a lot to move and grow from this. Okay. We must work harder to justify our vices. Yeah, brother, Stanley. Turn our vices into devices. That's the thing. Tapped in. You were one tapped in brother. Thank you, bro. Human beings are animals capable of great development or massive destruction. Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you going to let it make you or break you, man? Robots are fast data processors. The metaphysical states are on another level. They're super fast, man. They're working with the Hermes Mercurian energies too. A lot of them. They're super fast. They're lightning speed. Like the internet is gonna be like really, really good quality like Wi-Fi in the future. It's gonna be wild. I can't even think of like probably it could be that people are like multitasking while they're streaming something and getting paid. Like that's kind of a ridiculous future, but I think that's where the world is slowly moving to. And we understand the more someone can latch onto an archetype and a character in this, like Jake Paul isn't really like that guy. You guys know that, right? Like, do you guys know that Jake Paul is playing an archetype or not? The problem child, the fucking guy. Yeah. Like some people get that, other people don't get that, right? Like he's doing that to amplify and create entertainment, right? And people who just look at him from afar, like, oh, it's just he's buying all these fighters. Bro, who cares? It's entertaining, right? Like that's how people are thinking, at least when they're being entertained. They're not like thinking, oh, yeah, he's fighting another old boxer again. Yeah, okay, that's cool. And a boxing legend would know what real boxing is and whatever, right? However, at the same time, we have to start to really perceive what's going on behind the scenes because Jake Paul is also doing breath work, okay, different rituals, okay, and a lot of these different things. Okay. And who's to say that he's not allowed to do that? Is there a law in the UFC or something that says you cannot use mysticism to win fights? No, fuck that. I'm going to alter my state of mind and win. Right? That's what he's doing. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it, right? Guys working with Aubrey Marcus, with Lucas Mack. That's who he's working with. Okay. Now, I have all respect for Jake because I saw him become like this weird Disney kid to an absolute badass. And if he can do it, then so can so many others. Okay. But what does it really take? Okay. Okay. I think humanism is too optimistic to be a real working definition. Hmm. The word humane was created as a counter of ridiculously brutal stuff humans were doing. That's crazy levels of irony. Right. It's a very optimistic outlook. You're right. Um, but I think we need more humanists, right? Who are some of the humanists out there? Let's check. Ah, some names you guys aren't going to believe. Okay. Let's see. Are these humanists good people or not? Let's see. Okay. Can you guys see this? Okay. Albert Einstein. Okay. Gore Vidal. Okay. These are proclaimed humanists. Okay. Albert Ellis. Albert Ellis came up with shame attacking exercises. I think that you would have to have a high level of shame to create shame attacking exercises, sir. So I don't know how much of a humanist you are, but sure. Okay. Of course, Bill Nye. Okay. Bill Nye has to show up, right? You type in you type in humanist. It's like, let's break down the science experiment. Wait, what? I thought we were talking about humanity, not experimentation. Okay. Who here can you point to and say this is a human? Steve Allen? John Dewey? Daniel Handler? Okay, these are awful examples, guys. This is why we have to reshape the examples. Okay? Okay. All right. You have to get back to these understandings again. Humanist worldview. Let's see this. Provisional, this one life, consequentialism, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at panpsychism. Okay. All things have a mind or mind-like quality. Okay. So if you connect this word, basically it means all is mind, right? Which is a law of the Kybalion, which is very true, which goes back to Lanza's biocentrism. Consciousness creates the world, so we have to be aware of our thoughts and our beliefs and catch the thought almost like a Pokeball and then rearrange it into its most advanced, highest expression form of Pokemon, right? So words are pocket monsters. Think of it like that, right? Like if you have a specific thought form, you keep thinking about, it's growing that Pokeball. It's evolving that Pokemon. So you got to be careful, right? If you think like this, bro, you'll actually save yourself a lot of different heartaches in this lifetime. Let me tell you. The idea of universal consciousness is a prominent thought, branches of Greek philosophy, paganism, Buddhism. Dope. Okay. Was Plato a panpsychist? He argues for it in his Sophist. He writes that all things participate in the form of being, that it must have a psychic aspect of mind and soul or psyche. Yep. In the Philebus and Timaeus, Plato argues for the idea of the world soul or anima mundi, right? Anima mundi. Have you guys ever seen this? Okay. Maybe you guys are learning with me. Let's go. The world is animated by a soul, much like a human body. So this actually goes to show you guys that the planet is alive. The planet is not just this dense artificial thing that we keep creating, right? It's actually alive. It's why the morphic resonance of a certain building, if it holds a very low vibration, low vibrational workers are going up to that, up the lift, down the lift, you'll notice they'll go bankrupt. They won't be able to flourish and make it work. Okay? If there's low vibrational energy, it cannot pull the activation up. There has to be high vibrational energy that creates change and progress, right? Logos, right? Idea of the masculine logos and the feminine eros. We have to know how to use both. Okay, the bliss body, the pleasure that we feel and our senses, and being able to have sensorial regulation, right? As well as the logos, the word coming through to create and form. Okay, frame control, self-talk comes from this invisible quality, this animism. Let's look up animism. Okay. What's the definition of animism? There's a living soul to plants, inanimate objects, and natural phenomena. Okay. Don't the Japanese also like believe that the robots, they have a life of their own or something? That they're sentient in some way? Creatures all possess a distinct spiritual essence. Animism perceives all things as being animated, having agency and free will. Wow. This just reminds me, well, anima just means breath, spirit, or life, right? So yeah, everything is breathing into each other. Hey, even atoms, they want to, they want to separate and move so bad, right? They're still not oneness, but they just still want to move. So when you say stuckness, it's not really a real thing, right? We've created that container of stuckness in our own physically dense realities. That's why we stagnate on something, right? We're not moving with it. Once you take the energy and you move with it, it starts to create different infrastructure, internally, externally. Okay? So this is what we have to practice doing. Amazing, right? Wait, what? Animism represents the earlier form of religion, right? Being situated with an evolutionary framework of religion has developed in stages and will ultimately lead humanity rejecting religion altogether in terms of scientific rationality. Well, isn't that what's happened? Animism has fundamentally seen as a mistake, basic error from which all religions grew. Animism was inherently illogical, but he suggested that it arose from early humans' dreams and visions, and thus it was a rational system. I think there's some validity to this, man. Because I think we all understand this to some extent. Okay? That everything is a living, breathing, moving thing. It's not this dead zone, the psychological dead zone that we know it as, unless we've been treating ourselves that way. Okay? The world isn't really that dead zone. So again, it is slightly optimistic, but we got to be delusional optimists in this shit, right? We have to create our own levels of understanding what humans can be. Let's show them what humans can be, right? Taking notes. Us. Epic. Robots are fast data processors. Yep. Humanism is too optimistic. Yep. All right. Sweet, man. Awesome. This was an incredible talk, huh? Talked about a lot of things. And I think for right now, what we can do, something to take away from this, is let's create something epic that makes us understand that our primal selves, our most connected selves to nature, is really our most freest selves. And we don't need all of these extra things. They're just like, yeah, they're fun. Don't get me wrong. I love going to the arcade. I love going to the gym. I love going out into, these different venues. They're amazing. There's also a beauty and an animism to life itself. There's a Shakti dance and a Shiva container happening all around you. There's a yin and a yang happening all around you, right? And so let's explore the world as these consciousness surfers, right? Let's start to understand how we catch the next wave of our streamlined thoughts and ride that baby to the finish line and beyond it. Okay. We're all going to make it. Let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang. May we never be the same again. Hit that like and subscribe button. May the flow be with you. And let's meet in the astral worlds. Okay. Primal Sutra. We are one family, one love. I and I. Okay. So let's get it. And let's evolve. Peace. All right, let me just read Guido's last story and then we're out, okay? There was a story from Japan that claimed 16 robotic scientists were killed by military-grade robots they were developing, and one robot to connect the satellite to learn how to rebuild itself. Dang. That's fucking wild. I have to ponder that one, Guido. I don't know. You left us with a huge fucking anchor there. But yeah, what I have to say to that is essentially, let's not make this like the movie Robot. Okay. In Bollywood, there's this there's this movie called Robot where this guy, well, let me just end with that, man. Fuck it. Okay. This is funny. I just want to lighten up the mood a bit. Uh Hold on. All right, let's kind of speed through this. Share sound. Okay. Let's speed this up. What the f oh. Fire! Bruh. What the? Bro. Right, and then it becomes like a giant snake. Okay? You get an idea. Let's not make humanity like this, bro. Okay? We don't need to have this be a reality. Right? Snakes shooting little other like humans out of the mouth as a machine gun. Like, what the fuck? And so that outlandishness is something I wanted to show you because really that's, at a very weird extreme level. Hey, maybe that's a possibility. Who knows? But let's be wary of that, right? Because I don't want to end their on robot situation going around. Okay. Hopefully we all got this. So let's upward spiral. May we all explore this new dimension, this new timeline we're hopping into. The golden timeline is ours. It's always been ours. Oh, peace, guys. Much love.